Welcome to the Movie Business Podcast, picking up where Movie Business Book left off. I'm Jason Squire, hosting a wide range of industry talent and executives to answer fundamental questions about the business today. Here we go. And the subject is movie music with Atticus Ross, musician, composer, audio engineer, and record producer who collaborates with Trent Reznor on 9 Inch Nails and on movie scores, including Empire of Light, Bones and All, Mank, Gone Girl, Grammy winner Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Oscar and Golden Globe winner Social Network, and Oscar, British BAFTA, and Golden Globe winner Soul with Jon Batiste. He also received an Emmy Award for the HBO limited series Watchmen. Welcome, Atticus.
Hi there. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for joining the podcast. My goodness. Well,
It's my pleasure.
Let's turn to, we all want to know the secrets of movie music.
I think the secret is that there aren't really any secrets. I thought about it and was hoping to come up with a clever answer, but I think I'm not sure that there are any secrets. I mean, I think that it can be an often incredibly rewarding and simultaneously occasionally frustrating. The journey of it feels like an ever-evolving animal. And I think that, personally speaking, why it's been so rewarding is the opportunity to investigate and experience requests and musical adventures that I don't think I ever would have been. I don't think I'd ever would have taken in the realm of making records. And working in film music has kind of shown me how much more there is to learn. And I think that's always a good thing, to just remain teachable and humble and open to what the picture might be telling you.
Well, that's really a good way of putting it. The question then arises about the unique stages that you go through to do a score, a process that seems to be different from the traditional process. Can you walk us through the stages during a score once you make the commitment?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's what we try and do is get involved as early as possible. It's not a good business model, but it's a good creative one. So we'll be on a film for a long time. And the idea behind it is, if we can get involved at the script phase, then we're in conversation with the director. And that period of time is really about trying to understand what they see as the DNA of the film in terms of the storytelling, the emotional content, and their hopes and dreams. And during that process, oftentimes we'll some way into it, like take with Sam Mendes, for instance. We started talking to him when he was still working on the script, and we would have these Zooms every couple of weeks for several months, I mean, many months before he started shooting. And he would just talk about his process, what he was exploring. A lot of it was very personal experiences that he'd had in growing up in terms of dealing with mental illness. And kind of through it, they started scouting and sending some pictures of location and whatnot. And this could be applied to any of, there's a Fincher film coming out later this year, same process, where sat talking to him, same type of questions, just trying to get inside the director's head to understand how they see things. And then through that, we'll start composing, and it's not, this music is very likely won't be in the film. But what it is it's world building in the sense of what is the voice of this film. And our goal always, and I'm not saying that we achieve it, but what we're aiming for is every story is unique, and every story should have its own unique score. And when I say unique, I mean, and this is going to sound, I don't know if it sounds pretentious or not, but when I think of a movie like Taxi Driver, I can't think of, if I hear a bit of that music, my mind is immediately transported to the film. And if I see a bit of that film, my mind immediately goes to that score, because they exist as one piece to me. And I think that's what a really great score is where it's bound to the picture in a way that you can't really kind of separate. It's the DNA of the film. The film just wouldn't be the film without the music. And that's the goal. I'm not saying we hit it every time, like I said, but that's what we're trying to do. So in that early stage, we'll start this thing of world building, like what is the instrumentation going to be? What is the right mood? What is the kind of vibe of it? And also conscious of what we may or may not have done before, because just from a point of pride, this is a different story. We can't just transport something that worked before into this story. Then that process will go on, and we'll be exchanging ideas with the director, and him saying, I hate something is just as helpful as him saying, I love something. As we start understanding what he's responding to or she's responding to, by the time we get to actual scoring, we know, okay, this is the world we're in. And it makes working with the picture so much easier, because instinctively we know the kind of parameters of whatever world we're in. Now it just becomes about helping tell that story from an emotional perspective. And I think that's, if there's something we're good at, I think it's being able to mine our own experience and kind of put it into the picture in terms of emotional storytelling. And I think that's what it's all about, and that's certainly where I feel my kind of, I guess, like I said before, that's the reward. And so just to break it down, this very long answer, into something more digestible, it's work in the script stage and the shooting stage, figuring out what are the parameters, what world are we in. Then the picture comes in, it becomes more of a traditional scenario, except that we have established, the kind of rules of engagement, if you want to say that.
Right.
And then that can just go on for as long as, is available to us. I know that there are people who say they're never going to work to anything but locked picture, and they can knock out a score in 6 weeks and stuff like that. And I think that's incredible, but that's not our process. Our process is kind of the opposite of that. It's start early, and it's work through the iterations of the film, and kind of be at a place at the end, I can say, on every one, of feeling we couldn't do any better than what we've done. And that essentially is another thing that I'm after at the end of the process.
Yeah, gosh. That's...
The only director that this process doesn't work with, who we work with, is Luca Guadagnino. And the reason is like on Bones and All, he did have this kind of idea that he'd mentioned of an acoustic guitar, and we did experiment with a couple of love themes before the picture actually arrived. But his process, when you read the script, what comes back is often so different, his sort of vision of what the script is, that you couldn't really figure out an appropriate way to tackle the film without seeing the picture. It's a strange thing. He has a thing where there's a film coming out later this year called Challengers, and it was a good script. What Luca did with that script is a kind of transformed it in a way that one wouldn't have been able to imagine unless he were that guy, and it wouldn't have been something that he could explain. So on his films, we wait for the picture, and we'll usually get, like on Bones and All, it was still a long process. The first cut we got was sort of, I think it was about 3.5 hours long, no music at all apart from a couple of needle drops, and it was, it was a great watch. But anyway, that was just an aside.
Well, that's very helpful. And thank you so much for going into detail about your unique creative process and the time and energy that it takes. No doubt inspirational, especially for young composers. Do you have any special additional advice for young composers interested in the field?
My advice would be to stick to your guns, whatever the right phrase might be. I think that there can be this generic kind of idea of film music, and I think personally what's exciting about it is there really is no rules as to how to best tell a story. And I think that much as I've enjoyed working with orchestra, I think that there can be a notion that the only way to score a film is with an orchestra. I know that's changed, and in many cases that is the absolute right choice, but it's not the only choice. And I think what speaks is the voice of the artist, and I think it's okay to call a composer an artist. I think that the collaboration with a director is an artistic collaboration, and I think that there's room to simultaneously help the picture and tell the story and let your voice shine in that process. And I'm always, for me, I'm always excited when I see something that just kind of blows my mind in the sense of a score that just has that effect, the Taxi Driver effect or whatever. And I think that would be my general advice. Is I think it's very easy to feel that you have to fit into a box, or that the best and the fastest way to get somewhere is to kind of do what you think is the right thing. I mean, from an external position, from external forces. And I would say it would be better to do the right thing from internal forces, and not be scared to do something different. I think that's what culture is about. We move forward, things change, new voices come in, new ideas, new ways to do things. It's not a monolith. It's an ever-changing landscape.
Well, this must be great inspiration for young composers listening in order to hear this, changing the landscape of movie music and the process, which lets us turn to your sense of the future of business. How do you think things will be shaping up?
Well, I'm really not a businessman in any sense, but what I would love, although this may be in vain, is I would love to see a return of the cinema. I think that you can't beat the experience of watching a film with other human beings in a church for films, if you know what I mean. It was when we did Soul, that film I mean, it was great that it came out on Christmas Day for free, and it felt like it couldn't have been better. But at the same time, I've seen that film on a big screen, and I wish that the world had had a chance to experience the immense amount of work that went into that film on a big screen, which it was designed for. What do I think is going to happen with the business? I don't really know, but I'm sure that, you know, as we're all aware, the streamers are going to be doing the streaming. It's heartening to see someone like Apple say we're committing $1 billion to cinema releases. I don't know. I mean, my guess is probably as good as yours.
Well,
I do know from an artistic perspective, I think I'm excited to keep taking risks and trying new things that will, you know, not for the sake of it. I mean, and none of this conversation should be taken in terms of the most important thing is the film and the story, and the music always has to support that. I just feel that there are ways and means of doing that that reveal themselves and may not be the most obvious thing at the beginning.
Well, gosh, you know, we'll continue to stay tuned to the extraordinary work you guys have done. I thank you so much for visiting the Movie Business Podcast. Atticus Ross. Thank you so much, Atticus.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.